Look at me just for a moment. No, really. Pause and look. My name is Margaret. I turned 85 today. And I want to tell you something most people only realize far too late. Loneliness doesn't arrive all at once. It doesn't knock. It doesn't interrupt your day. It doesn't come with a sound you can recognize. It builds quietly, in small moments, in habits that feel harmless, in choices that seem reasonable at the time. One day feels normal. The next day feels the same. And then, slowly, almost without noticing, the silence grows. The rooms feel larger than they used to. The evenings stretch a little longer. The phone rings a little less often. Until one day, you sit down and something feels different. Not broken, not dramatic, just distant. For years, I thought it was the world changing, my children getting busy, life moving too fast for me to keep up. I told myself that was just how things go. But one very long, very quiet Tuesday, with the clock ticking louder than usual and nothing else to distract me, I saw something I couldn't ignore. I wasn't just living in that silence. I had helped build it, brick by brick, habit by habit. And the hardest part, I didn't even realize I was doing it. What I'm about to share with you are 10 habits. They don't look sharp or obvious. They don't feel harmful in the moment. In fact, many of them feel like strength, like dignity, like independence. But over time, they stack. And when they stack, they create distance. Not all at once, not dramatically, just enough to slowly change how people come towards you. The first wall is built with just 2 words. I'm fine. We say it quickly, almost automatically. Sometimes before we even think about what we actually feel. It sounds simple, controlled, like everything is still in place. But often it isn't. There's a hesitation behind it, a pause we hope no one notices, because admitting need feels uncomfortable. When I'm fine becomes your default, people stop looking past it. They stop asking again. They stop listening for what's underneath. Not because they don't care, but because you've shown them there's nothing to reach for. And slowly, they begin to step back. We save things carefully. This is special, Doc. This is for later. So we wait. We place things back. We close the cabinet. And we tell ourselves, another day, but later keeps moving. And the house begins to feel paused. Everything looks right, but nothing feels used. The plates don't carry memories. The room doesn't hold laughter. And something changes. Life begins to feel like something you're preparing for instead of something you're already living. That sigh, it's small, quiet, but it carries weight. It comes at the end of effort, a long exhale that says more than words. It says, This is harder than it should be, even if we don't mean it that way. People feel it. The room becomes heavier. They begin to move more carefully, speak a little less freely, because they don't want to add to that weight. And something that began as care starts to feel like pressure. It happens quickly. Someone shares something small but real, and we respond with something bigger, not to dismiss them, but to relate. But it shifts the focus. Their moment becomes smaller. Their feeling becomes secondary. And even if nothing is said, something closes. Because what they needed was to be heard. Things accumulate slowly. A drawer fills. A corner gathers weight. Old thoughts stay. Old feelings repeat. And together, they create a quiet heaviness. The space feels full. And when everything is full, nothing new can settle. Nothing new can grow. Without spacey, connection has nowhere to land. Questions begin with care. You want to stay connected. So you ask, and then you ask again. And slowly the tone changes. What felt like curiosity starts to feel like pressure. People shorten their answers, not to hide, but to keep things light. And slowly they begin to pull back. There was a time when love was quiet. It was shown, not spoken, and that felt enough. But now something feels missing. Without words, there's room for doubt. What feels obvious to you may never be heard, and silency begins to feel like distance. Experience creates certainty. You know what works, so you correct, you guide. But repetition changes the tone. What feels helpful becomes constant, and constant correction creates tension. People don't relax, they adjust. That phrase, "when I'm gone," it changes everything. The air shifts. The moment becomes heavier. It doesn't resolve anything. It just lingers. And over time, it creates quiet discomfort. Waiting to speak feels natural. But when you stop truly listening, connection weakens. None of these habits appear suddenly. They form slowly. They feel normal. But over time, they shape everything. They can be unlearned. Not all at once, but gradually. Because growing older is about staying connected. My name is Margaret. Stay open, stay curious, and most of all, stay kind.